Hello, everybody, and welcome to the annual tradition that is my Stanley Cup playoff simulation on EA NHL. We have a long way to go, as in this video, we will simulate game by game every single series until you have the definitive winner of the Stanley Cup. No room for debate. The team that wins this will win in real life. Rest assured. So let's get down to it. Now, as we get into this, of course, need to point out it's all in good fun. And secondly, there are some players who will not be in their team's lineups because they are injured. UC Saros for Nashville. Good luck, Nashville, by the way, with that. I also want to mention, of course, as well, I will have my full preview video of the playoffs, my take on what I think is going to happen. Not that we can't touch up upon some of it here. For example, I don't know if Dallas will win Game 1 by the score of 3-1, but I also don't think it's necessarily impossible, especially with how well Jake Ottinger has played for that particular team. We already mentioned Nashville and Colorado. Man, oh my God, yeah, that could happen. That could happen right there. That absolutely could happen. I know Matt Duchene's been great. Roman Josi, if he doesn't win the Norris Trophy, it's one of the biggest robberies in the history of NHL award voting. But simply put, without UC Saros in goal, I just don't see any possible way that the Preds have a positive result out of that particular series. Washington and Florida greatly intrigues me because all of the pressure in the world is on the Florida Panthers after winning the President's Trophy to get the job done. You go out, you get Claude Giroux. So Washington's kind of in that dangerous spot of, what exactly is going to happen there? And then there's Boston and Carolina, which I'm obviously invested in heavily as a Bruins fan. The Hurricanes have completely dominated the Bruins this season, the exception of that right there. They've completely dominated the Bruins this season, so obviously it's a bit of a scary matchup. But if the idea is Carolina, Toronto, or Florida, I will gladly take the Carolina Hurricanes. That's just me, just because the Bruins have had success against the Hurricanes. Not that they haven't against the Leafs, but at the same time, I don't know. There's just something about it where I feel like Carolina, as slim of a chance as it is, does represent the best chance for the Bruins to make it out of round one. As we know, because of the Atlantic Division, there are a lot of very good teams that are going to crash and burn out of the playoffs very, very quickly. It's just how it works. Minnesota and St. Louis. Very much excited for this series. I mean, it's the best regular season the Wild have ever had. Double overtime winner there for Pavel Buchnevich. It's the best regular season the Wild have ever had. They have the best player in franchise history, Kirill Kaprizov. Let's be honest, he is. I'm very excited to see what they can do. But the Blues, man, I just feel like they're going to be built for the playoffs. They have more 20-goal scorers than anybody else in the league. And talk about pressure. The Toronto Maple Leafs, man. Say what you want about the Lightning, and it's like, oh, they had the pressure as the two-time. They have no pressure as the defending two-time champions. Like, the fact they've already won back-to-back, they're playing with house money. All the pressure in the world's on Toronto to make it out of round one. And honestly, I'd say all the pressure in the world's kind of on the Rangers in this particular matchup against Pittsburgh. I mean, and some people will be happy that Jari's not in rather than Smith. That is what it is. I think a lot of people, myself included, are still looking at the New York Rangers to be like, okay, let's prove you're legit. They might be the best team that has the most to prove, although, man, Calgary's in there too, having won the Pacific Division, and they headed into this season, honestly, in a bit of limbo. That was the major talk around the Calgary Flames is, okay, what are they going to do? Are you going to move on from Johnny Gaudreau and company and kind of retool, and instead they keep it together? Daryl Sutter's back. He's going to win Coach of the Year, or at least he better. He was insane. Just so many interesting matchups in the playoffs. I'm so ready for it to get started. And no disrespect to Nashville, but jeez. Yeah, NHL's not really banking on you either here, are they? That's a rough time. Game 2, Florida and Washington. 1-0 Caps with Kuznetsov. 2-0 with Carlson. 3-all. Okay. Brandon Montour with the goal. And then Washington wins it in overtime anyway to tie that series up. But this might be my most anticipated playoffs ever. Every matchup has the chance to be an absolute banger. Obviously, Nashville's chances could have been helped if UC Saros was there. But still, I mean, I mentioned Matt Duchene. I think, the first ever 40-goal scorer in club history. It's been a career best season for Matt Duchene. And like I said, Roman Josi, slam dunk Norris winner. Like, he's literally having the best season of a defenseman in 30 years. Like, come on. It's very obviously him. The Oilers here, too. I mean, again, a team that has so much pressure on their shoulders. The Kings are playing with house money. They really shouldn't have been there. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think the Kings are bad, but did anybody expect them to make the playoffs this year? I mean, maybe, but it did take other teams in the Pacific Division being worse than expected to really open the door for them to get there. I almost equate it to the Toronto Maple Leafs of, 5 years ago, where they played the Washington Capitals in round 1, and it's like, oh, it's cool that you're here. We don't know how you're here. You weren't supposed to be here, but it's nice that you're here. I kind of view it that way, whereas for the Kings, you are just desperate, or for the Oilers, you are desperate to make it out of that first round. That would be such an embarrassing loss if the Kings were to do it, right? Like, everyone's heading into the series being like, okay, here's Dustin Brown's last playoff series because you're going to lose to the Oilers. And the Oilers have played amazing hockey since Jay Woodcroft took over as the head coach. But when you get into a playoff scenario and you have that much pressure on you, I mean, hey, it wasn't all that long ago we saw Tampa get upset by the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? I mean, granted, that feels like 16 years ago because of the pandemic and such, but at the same time, it really wasn't all that long ago. So, very, very intrigued. And to further talk about the Rangers and why I feel like they have so much pressure on them, they entered this season super young on defense with guys like Lundqvist. Braden Schneider has factored in quite a bit, among others, really. And, the bottom 6 in terms of the forward depth wasn't great. But then you have Shesterkin doing Shesterkin things. And all of a sudden, everything is going incredibly well. They're just the one team that I look at to say, I think you could win, but you gotta prove it to me. Because there have been too many noticeable flaws throughout the season to ignore, essentially. Even though they did address those needs quite a bit with the additions of Frankie Vetrano and Andrew Kopp. So, pretty impressed with that. Man, poor Nashville. This is just not going to go well. Yep, 4-1. They're down 3-0 in this opening round series. Rough times for the Preds. But like I said, so many teams that are going to exit in the first round that have legitimate cup aspirations. I don't remember the last time you had so many teams that you could say, without being surprised, oh, they won the cup? Yeah, of course they won the cup. They're a great team. Usually every playoffs, we kind of have a few teams where it's like, oh man, I'd be surprised. And outside of the Kings and the Preds, I don't really think there's another team that would surprise me. Even Dallas, even the Rangers. Like I said, it wouldn't be a major surprise. It's just like I need to see them win that first round matchup to prove like, okay, they are legit, and it wasn't just a Vezina caliber run from one of the best goaltenders on the planet at this point that got them over the edge. Hopefully Charlie Coyle can score like this in real life like he is now, and hopefully Linus Ullmark can keep playing like that. That would be tremendous. I don't even know who the hell the starting goalie will be for the Bruins between Ullmark and Swayman. It's a bit of a scary situation. I love the goalie matchup here in this series, too. It's a rematch of 10 years ago. Kings and Coyotes in the conference final. Mike Smith against Jonathan Quick. As Kylie Yamamoto wins it for Edmonton. Makes you wonder, though, too, right? Like Dustin Brown retiring, how much longer does Jonathan Quick have? Really is an end of an era for the Kings, and obviously it's brutal for them. Like, Drew Doughty's not available. Like, that's such a huge, huge loss, and, you know, we've talked about Drew Doughty a lot and joked about how he's not what he used to be, but he was really good this season when healthy. Very, very good was Drew Doughty, so that's just such a major, major loss for the Kings that I just don't quite know where they go even after this season, even if they do make it out. So let's see here. Tampa up 1-0. 1-1 Matthews. Matthews keeps scoring. Toronto's got to win this, so they're down 3-0. Double overtime. Tampa wins again. Oh, the heartbreak that would be there for the Leafs. Unfortunately, they are getting just goalied to death by Andrei Vasilevsky. Super unfortunate times. Let's see. Pittsburgh and New York. 2 goals for Andrew Kopp. And again, he's been fantastic. Shout out to Keandre Miller. Someone else I didn't mention in terms of that young Rangers blue line. Very, very jealous, though, the Rangers getting Andrew Kopp. Eric Hall has been very good for the Bruins. He has alleviated a lot of the concerns that I shared around the deadline. But holy hell, Andrew Kopp's been so good for the Rangers. I can't help but be a little bit envious. As we're going to see if Dallas pulls off the sweep over Calgary. This would be obviously a gigantic shock IRL. That said, there you go, the sweep will not happen. Dallas is just so sneaky because, again, it was only 2 years ago that they made the Stanley Cup final, and now you talk about literally the game changer on his own, Jason Robertson, and how good he, Hintz, and Pavelski have been as their top line. I wouldn't overlook it because now a lot of the pressure's off of Ben, a lot of the pressure's off of Sagan, although I don't know if Sagan's quite been the same since that major hip injury, I believe it was. It might have been a knee injury, but lower body injury, as they describe it, as Colorado officially completes the sweep of the Nashville Predators. So the Preds are done. Get a quick look at the stats there for the Colorado Avalanche. And, yeah, the big names delivering quite well. Quite well indeed. A 9.8 he allowed. He allowed 2 goals on 102 shots to Darcy Kemper. Needless to say, there won't be too much. Yeah, Nashville. Goaltending wasn't quite there. And yeah, your 2 goals from Forsberg and Trennan. I don't think it'll be that rough IRL for Nashville, but at the same time, you never quite know, do you? But yeah, for Dallas, like I was saying, Jason Robertson, I have a crush on Jason Robertson. I'm so envious of the Stars. He's so, so good. I was singing his praises all season last year, heading into this year, and only feel more justified based off of just how well he's performed this year. Kid is a legitimate superstar. If he were to play in one of the big Canadian markets or one of the big North America or big American markets, just North American market in general, if he were to play for one of the bigger teams, you would not stop hearing about him. He's that good. So I'm intrigued by Dallas, certainly. As Carolina ties it with Tony DeAngelo, and they win it. Teuvo Teravainen. That was another double overtime game. We've had quite a few of those. Quite a few of those indeed. Let's see if Edmonton can complete the sweep of the LA Kings. Draisaitl with a goal. Oh, yeah, it's done. Draisaitl, Derek Ryan. 4-1 final. The Edmonton Oilers sweep the Los Angeles Kings, our second sweep in these playoffs. And we'll take a look here at the stats for the Oilers. Draisaitl, Hyman, McDavid, all fantastic. 4 points for Bouchard and Nurse each. And a .959 save percentage for old Mike Smith. In goal, Quick, only a .902. Edler led the way. I mean, yeah, look, that's what the Kings defense is projected to be. It's not abysmal, but oof. And then Quentin Byfield led the way in scoring. I don't know if Danault, Kopitar, Kempe, Arvidsson, and company will all be held off the score sheet, but yeah, if they are, needless to say, that series will end up being a sweep. Let's see, St. Louis and Minnesota. 2-0 Wild, Brodin Kaprizov. 2-1 with Bortuzzo. A 2-1 win for the Minnesota Wild, who, it's funny, we have a video coming out a few days from now kind of talking about the teams that have never made a Stanley Cup final. Minnesota's one of them. Still haven't made it back to the conference finals since 2003, which was their first ever playoff appearance. And, of course, that was the magical year where they eliminated and essentially retired Patrick Waugh in round one of those playoffs. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, I believe that is the sweep right there. 5-0 loss to the Lightning. They get absolutely goalied by Andrei Vasilevsky. Again, don't know if that will happen, but who's to say? Stamkos, as you would expect, absolutely phenomenal. He's been incredible lately. I can't sing the praises of Steven Stamkos enough. I can only imagine what his stat lines would look like if he weren't to have had the injury struggles that he did once upon a time, because he is one of the best players of his generation. No doubt about it, and my God, Toronto just could not put up any points there in round one. The Rangers might just sweep the Penguins here. Chris Letang with the goal. 2-2, Carter, and then Kakko and Vetrano. And indeed, the Rangers sweep the Penguins. Zibanejad, Miller, Trouba, and Fox. So perhaps a little bit different if Tristan Jarry is healthy and ready to go. Of course, at the time of recording this, can't guarantee that he'll be in the lineup, so we left him out. Much I'm sure to the chagrin of Penguins fans everywhere, but at least deadline pickup Rickard Rakell did well, and practically nobody else. That's that's a rough scene. 946 save percentage for Shesterkin. Trouba and Fox. Yes, Zibanejad. Man, what a season as well for Chris Kreider. Absolutely unreal. Let's see. Can Dallas finish off Calgary now that we've had a couple of sweeps? 4-1. Wedgwood's in. Backlund, Zadorov, Coleman, Ruzicka. Robertson scores twice. Lindell gets one. Dallas they did come back, actually. They tied it. Eric Goodbranson, of all people, scored the winner for the Stars. So a good performance from Jason Robertson just wasn't enough. Washington trying to upset the President's Trophy winners. Let's run in an Oshie, Brandon Montour, going to overtime. Ovi tied it with 22 seconds left. And the Caps eliminate the Florida Panthers in 5 games. That would be a shock, to say the least, but man, I don't put anything past any one of these teams. This playoff setup is just unbelievable. And again, Aaron Ekblad might be ready to go. That was the most recent word that I saw. The words might be. And I hope that he is, for the sake of the Panthers. They do have pretty good depth up and down the lineup, but, obviously, having Aaron Ekblad, crucial. I mean, again, they were missing him last year, right? So we kind of saw that, unfortunately, they fell short despite how good they were against Tampa. 2-2 for the Bruins and Hurricanes. Third period, Carolina lives to see another day. Jordan Martinook with the goal, and D'Angelo is putting up a ton of points. We got a 2-2 split between Minnesota and St. Louis. Kyra the opening goal. Eriksson Ek ties it. Goal apiece, Dumba Parayko, and the Blues win it in overtime with Barbashev. The Blues 1 win away from round number 2. As again, Dallas, another opportunity to eliminate Calgary. 2-1 Flames, both goals for Goodrow. Make that 4-1, hat trick for Johnny Goodrow. And Calgary battles back to force Game 7. Matthew Tkachuk with a hat trick of assists as well. Man, what a season for him. Over 100 points. Maybe one of the quietest and most underappreciated 100-point seasons in recent memory. We got the Bruins and Canes, 2-2. And Carolina forces Game 7. Hate to say it, I could certainly see that happening in real life. St. Louis trying to fend off the Minnesota Wild and end this series, and they do. Brandon Saad's power play goal is it. Heartbreak for the Wild as Jordan Binnington able to stand on his head and get the job done. So all but one Western Conference series is done. Kaprizov, just the 3 goals. Oof, nothing for Kevin Fiala, nothing for Matt Boldy. That's rough. Rough times. .956 save percentage for Marc-Andre Fleury, and they still lost in 6. What are the odds of that? It's .953 for Jordan Binnington. That was insane levels of goaltending in that particular series. But the Blues move on. They do indeed. Calgary, Dallas, Game 7. Flames have battled back. Nemesnikov and Anderson. And overtime. Game 7. Double overtime. And Calgary wins it. Blake Coleman. The Flames, with an unbelievable comeback, eliminate the Dallas Stars in double overtime of Game 7. So imagine that goes down that way. Calgary does move on, as they would hope to do. So good stuff there. .919 save percentage for Markstrom. Only a .906 for Ottinger, a .920 in the limited sample size that Wedgwood got. Great series for Heiskanen. Not much point production from that Stars defense, and I think that's a realistic concern for them, is to not have that scoring. Game 7, Boston and Carolina. Scared already, and it's only a video game. Craig Smith scores. Smith scores again, but then D'Angelo Niederreiter going to overtime here, and Boston wins it. We can all breathe a sigh of relief as Patrice Bergeron, the captain, gets it done. The Bruins are off to round number 2. Oof, and look at that, the updated bracket. We'll get a full look at it in a minute. Get the stats for Boston. Shout out to Brad Marchand at the end of round number 1. McAvoy looking pretty damn good. Allmark with that .921. And .907 for Ranta. Presumably, Freddie Anderson's going to be 100% and ready to go, but not a certainty. And unfortunately, I mean, hey, that tandem won the Jennings, but Freddie Anderson with some injury concerns? No, I'm shocked. Absolutely shocked. So, an updated look there. Battle of Alberta in the top left. Colorado plays St. Louis, Tampa, and Washington, and the New York Rangers take on the Boston Bruins. Oh, so let's do this. Battle of Alberta. Game number 1. 2-1 Edmonton. McDavid and Nugent Hopkins. Anderson for the Flames. 4-3 for Calgary. Coleman, Toffoli, Lindholm. 6-5. Good Lord. Glad to see the goaltending showed up. Too little too late for Tyson Barrie. And it's a huge Game 1 victory for the Calgary Flames. St. Louis looking to hand Colorado their first loss. Girard scores. Perron. And 3-2 Colorado. McKinnon and Burakovsky. The comeback effort. The Avs stay perfect here in the playoffs. Now at 5-0. Tampa as well. Also looking to stay undefeated. McDonough and Hagel scores. So does Ovechkin. Sergachev scores, and despite the comeback, Corey Perry's goal holds up as the winner. Tampa also stays undefeated, and man, I really do feel like they have a phenomenal chance at three-peating. That team is so good. Holy balls. 6-0 New York. At the end of the first 20 minutes. I would stop watching the game. Make that 7-0 with another Zibanejad goal. 8-1. The final score. One of the most lopsided playoff games you'll ever see. Mika Zibanejad with a 5-goal effort. We go back to the Battle of Alberta. Edmonton scores. Zach Hyman. Along with Bouchard and Hyman again. And 4-0 final. Connor McDavid icing on the cake. It's a 24-6 save shutout for Mike Smith in Game 2. That series now 1-1. Again, Colorado looking to stay undefeated. Down 3-2 at the end of the first period. Now down 4-3 at the end of the second. And they win it 6-4. What a third period response. 6-0 in the postseason are the Colorado Avalanche. Washington and Tampa. Tampa again looking to match that pace. Oshie scores. Kuznetsov and Oshie again. 5-1 final. Tampa loses for the first time here in the postseason. So a big result there. And again, the Rangers looking to stay undefeated. 1-0 off a Kreider goal. 4-1 Boston. What the hell has this series been so far? And that is the final score. So the Bruins tied up at 1 apiece. Really solid performance for Linus Ullmark. Lord knows he couldn't do much worse than what he did in the prior game. Game 3, 2-1 Calgary. Tolman Yarncroke. Now 5-3. Man, goaltenders need not apply in this particular series. Calgary wins Game 2 by the score of 6-3. Great game for Yarncroke and Gaudreau. Colorado and St. Louis now. 1-1, Kyrou Landeskog. 3-1 for Colorado, O'Connor Nichushkin, and the Avs have a 3-0 series lead on the St. Louis Blues. They're about to go perfect through the first 2 rounds at this rate. As insane as that is. Game 3 here between Tampa and Washington. Big second period for the Lightning and a bigger third. 6-1. Tampa back in control of this series because Andrei Vasilevsky is unbelievable. A hat trick of assists for Kucherov as well. Game 3 in Boston. 3-2 New York. Make that 4-3 New York. And a 6-3 victory for the New York Rangers. Big game there for Chris Kreider. Zibanejad as well has been outstanding. Calgary looking to take a 3-1 series lead. Let's see, second period, 1-0 Oilers. McDavid, 2-2, heading into overtime after 2 goals from Mangiapane. And the Oilers win it anyway. Zach Hyman with the winner. Another strong effort for Mike Smith, despite not being the highest-rated goaltender in the world. Can the Avs complete the sweep? First period, 1-0 Rantanen. Second period, 3-0 Rantanen and Lehkonen. And 5-1 is the final. Colorado completing back-to-back sweeps to kick off this postseason run. And despite some of the competition they have to face, do I rule that out as completely unrealistic? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We all know that this team is a wagon and a half. So very intrigued to see what would happen there for the Blues. Well, tough luck. Good team. You ran into a buzzsaw. And again, hopefully for their sake, they'll be a little bit healthier than what they'd appear to be right now in terms of being just a little bit banged up. Let's see. Tampa looking to take a 3-1 lead on Washington. Scoreless first, scoreless second, scoreless third, and a 1-0 overtime win. Braden Point with 43 seconds left. Outrageous. And the Lightning do indeed have a 3-1 lead. The Rangers looking to take the same here on the Bruins. 4-0 Boston. At the end of the first period, Georgiev's in. Make that still 4-0, and now 5-2. The final score, Rangers and Bruins tied at 2 apiece after the first 4 games. Go back to the Battle of Alberta. 2-2 split here. First period, 2-1 Oilers. Ryan and Bouchard. Second period scoreless. Third period, what a comeback for Calgary. Ruzicka has been clutch for this team. He's been in that lineup due to the absence of Sean Monahan, if I'm not mistaken. And has another strong performance there. Calgary 1 win away from moving on. Tampa trying to end this series right here. scoreless first, goal apiece in the second. Maroon and Sherry going overtime. And the Caps staying alive. Anthony Mantha extends this series for at least one game longer. Bruins and Rangers, MSG, Game 5. 2-1 Rangers, Lafreniere and Trouba. 2-2 now. Trent Frederick scores again. And the Rangers win it. Chris Kreider. Who else? They'll have a chance to end it in Game 6 back in Boston, as the Flames try to eliminate the Oilers on the road. First period, 3-0 Oilers. Maybe not going down without a fight. Scoreless second, a goal apiece in the third. We're going to Game 7 in the Battle of Alberta. Winner goes to the Western Conference Finals to play Colorado. Tampa has another chance to end Washington here. Down 2-1 at the end of the first period. 3 power play goals. Second period now 2-2. Make that 4 power play goals. And indeed, the Lightning get it done. All 5 goals on the power play, including a hat trick for Steven Stamkos, as the Lightning move past the Capitals in 6 games. So you get a look at Stamkos, it's Point, it's Kucherov. Kucherov still without a goal, but 9 assists so far. Nick Paul with just a goal, but my God, the hands on him the other night to score the between-the-legs goal that he did. And a .941 save percentage for Andrei Vasilevsky. Only a .914 for Samsonov. John Carlson was fantastic, as was Kuznetsov, but yeah, just a real lack of depth scoring. That simply can't happen the way that it did for the Caps. Can the Rangers finish off the Bruins? That is the question. Goalless first. 1 goal for the Bruins in the second, David Pastrnak. And the Bruins forced Game 7, a 26-save shutout for Linus Ullmark. So we will have 2 Game 7s here. Edmonton or Calgary? Who's moving on? Let's find out. First period, goalless. Second period, 1-0 Oilers, Darnell Nurse. And in the third, the Oilers win it. Connor McDavid, the insurance goal. Ruzicka's tally a few moments later, not enough, as the Oilers will move on to take on Colorado in the Western Conference Finals. Heartbreak for Calgary at the hands of their, I'd say, their greatest rivals. I mean, they're in-province rivals, of course. And I mean, come on, does it get any bigger than the Battle of Alberta at this stage? I don't know, man. That would be one hell of a series, to say the least. Imagine Evan Bouchard putting up points like that, too. Good Lord. Good Lord, I say. Zach Kassian doesn't have a point through 11 games. Who will play Tampa in the Eastern Conference Finals? 1-0 lead for the Rangers. Kreider scores. 3-1 lead for the Rangers. Stroman, Lafreniere. Grzelcyk's goal not enough. And there it is. 6-3. Your final. The New York Rangers eliminate the Boston Bruins in 7. Heartbreak for old Toog. There will be no parade this summer. At least not one that I plan on attending. So it is Avs, Oilers, Rangers, and Lightning. And man, the Lightning's chances looking pretty damn good for that three-peat. They're already halfway home. There's the multi-million-dollar man, Nick Foligno. Ooh. It's a rough look, dare I say. So we get a look at the Rangers stats. Shesterkin's been pretty solid. Fox has been absolutely insane. Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, and company getting it done. We go to Game 1. Oilers and Avs. Let's see what happens. 1-0 Colorado, Rantanen. 2-0 Colorado, Taves. And the Oilers hand the Avs their first playoff loss. Kane, Brassard, and Yamamoto with 3 very quick goals. As Mike Smith shuts the door. Indeed, again, the Oilers handing them their first loss. Tampa, New York, the battle for Martin St. Louis. Colton scores. 2-2 in the third. 2 goals for Mika Zibanejad. Palat forces overtime, and the Lightning win it anyway. Brandon Hagel, the overtime winner, Still love that pickup for the team as well. And it's a 1-0 lead for the Lightning. Might we get Connor McDavid in the Cup final? Battling Nathan MacKinnon here. 1-1, McDavid and MacKinnon. Couldn't script that any better. Holy hell. 3-2 now, Makar, and then 2 more goals for McDavid to complete the hat trick. But Colorado wins it. Colorado wins it 5-3 off the back of a great third period. Connor McDavid reigns supreme. See if the Lightning can take a 2-0 lead on the road. 2-1 New York. So Vetrano and Strome after the Stamkos goal. Make that 3-1. Strome scores again. And 4-2 finals. Zibanejad and Stamkos, the last 2 goals. Great games for Strome, Stamkos, and Zibanejad. Shesterkin as well. So 1-1 split for both. Colorado. Goalless. Goalless? No. Second period. O'Connor and Burakovsky. Third period. Edmonton goalless the whole way through. It's another shutout for Darcy Kemper. This time, 30 saves. And a 2-1 series lead now for the Avs. Game 3 between the Rangers and Lightning. 2-0 New York. Lindgren and Zibanejad. 2-2 Chernak with both goals. And 5-2, good lord, 5 straight goals, 2 of them in the third period for Braden Point. Tampa's offense, man, when they get rolling, they are almost impossible to stop. As Colorado looks to take a 3-1 lead here. Goalless first, 3 goals second for the Oilers with Nuge, Draisaitl, and Nurse, and 5-0 final. Goodness gracious, the Oilers not going down without a fight. It's another shutout for Mike Smith. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? Game 4, Rangers and the Lightning. Rangers trying to tie this one up. Goalless first. Goal apiece in the second, Belmar and Miller. And goal apiece in the third, Kreider and Hagel. The winner in overtime is Tampa. Victor Hedman. 52nd shot of the game. And just like that, the Tampa Bay Lightning 1 win away from that chance at a three-peat. Go to Game 5 in a 2-2 series here. Colorado up 1-0 with McKinnon scoring. Make that 2-1 Edmonton. McDavid and Hyman. 3-3. Heading into overtime. The winner is going to be decided in double overtime. And it's Colorado. Cale Makar can only stop him for so long. It's a 3-2 lead for them. Will the Tampa Bay Lightning punch their ticket to the Stanley Cup final? 2-1 New York, Kreider and Kopp. Second period now 3-2. Bogosian, Panarin those goals. And the Rangers will indeed live to fight another day. A great result there for Igor Shesterkin. As we go to Game 6, Colorado trying to move on to the Stanley Cup final. 2-0 Edmonton. Bouchard and Draisaitl both on the power play. Make that 3-2 now as Colorado tied it, but Draisaitl gets the goal back, and Edmonton will win it and move to Game 7 against Colorado. Knockdown, drag-out series there. Can the Rangers force 7 against Tampa? First period, 1-0 Kreider. Second period, 1-1 with McDonough, the former captain. And we're going to overtime where the Rangers force 7. Chris Kreider on the power play. Great performance from both goalies. But here we go. Who's it going to be? Who's going to the Cup final? Edmonton and Colorado at Ball Arena. Taves and O'Connor score in the first. And it's Taves again in the third. Colorado shuts the door on Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers in Game 7, 5-0 victory. 31 saves for Darcy Kemper. And the Avs are going to the Stanley Cup final, living up to the hype, living up to their potential off the backs of McKinnon, Rantanen, Burakovsky, and of course you would have seen him, Cale Makar, who has been absolutely outstanding. Darcy Kemper as well, a .933 save percentage. Smith was pretty solid for the Oilers, but it could only last for so long. Again, McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, it's incredible that they wasted that. But what do you know? A lack of depth scoring. Maybe a little bit of an issue for the Oilers. Who'd have thunk it? Tampa, New York, Game 7. Rangers have home ice advantage as well. Colton scores on the power play. Ooh, 3-1. Miller tied it, but Kucherov, Cirelli, and indeed that's it. The Tampa Bay Lightning have the chance at the three-peats as they eliminate the Rangers in 7. And it comes down to this, the Stanley Cup final. Tampa against Colorado. Either Colorado gets it done, or Nathan MacKinnon raises the cup for the first time, or the Lightning will complete the three-peat with talisman Patrick Maroon, as Vasi has been insane. It feels like great goaltenders, for the most part, actually perform like great goaltenders in playoff mode. Not so much in franchise mode, though. Not sure what's up with that. I wish goalies actually did perform this well in franchise. That would be pretty fun. Pretty fun indeed. It's Game 1. The Lightning against the Avalanche. Colorado at home, of course. Sergachev scores first. Make that 3-2. It was 3 unanswered goals for the Lightning. Tampa blowing the lead a little bit, though, but they do hold on. Point and Kucherov, 5-2 final. The Lightning up 1-0 here in the Stanley Cup final. Second period now. Let's see what we got. 1-0 Tampa, or second game. Steven Stamkos scores. Colton scores. And a big third period for the Avs. They're not done. 4 unanswered goals to tie this series up at 1 apiece, as the big-name players getting it done for the Avs. Game number 3, now in Tampa. First period, 2-2. MacKinnon bookmarking the goal scoring. Now 3-3 with Cirelli and Makar. And 5-4, the Lightning win it. Zach Bogosian gets the winning goal, despite a 4-point effort from Cale Makar. It's now 2-1 for the potentially soon-to-be 3-time Stanley Cup champions, at least consecutively. Obviously, they won in 2004 as well. New hook and Hagel. New hook and Chernak. Oh my goodness, the Tampa Bay Lightning. You know, you can't properly factor in real-world fatigue that team might be suffering through. But regardless, here we are. The Tampa Bay Lightning, 1 win away. And there it is. I didn't even have time to slow sim it, really. What's done is done. And at the end of the day, why bother slow simming it? You don't have to try hard to picture it or to imagine it, because we've seen it 2 years in a row, and now we're about to see it for the 3rd year in a row. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to beat the Colorado Avalanche in 5 games to win their 3rd Stanley Cup in a row, ushering in an era of dominance that, man, you thought 2 in a row with, you know, Pittsburgh accomplishing the feat. Now, of course, Tampa accomplishing the feat. You thought that was difficult enough. Tampa taking the term dynasty to a different level here, accomplishing something that we have not seen in the hockey world in a very, very long time. And we have Chicago to thank for it. We have Ottawa to thank for it. What a team, what a run. Might as well skip the playoffs, everybody. It's a repeat. It's a repeat of a repeat of a repeat? Goodness gracious. That'll do it for this one. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you think. Who is going to win the Stanley Cup this year? And again, we will be having a bracket challenge out, so make sure to be following the channel as well to take part in that. Of course, social media side of things, I'm everywhere at Tuki24. If you haven't checked it out, get the most recent video on this channel, the continuation of my EA versus 2K series. We're comparing NHL 2002 versus NHL 2K2. You can also check out the Tukey's Take podcast right here on YouTube. Just search Tukey's Take podcast, or you can find it on Spotify or everywhere podcasts can be heard. Again, the Tukey's Take podcast, links in the description. New episodes basically every Tuesday and Friday. I was going to say Saturday, but no, every Tuesday and Friday throughout the regular season. I think that's all that we have to plug. Thank you guys again for watching, and no offense to the Lightning, kind of hoping we have a new winner this year. That'd be fun.